Hi and welcome to Rob's Camino. This is probably going to be of interest to you, particularly if you haven't walked a Camino yet. But even if you have, there'll be some stuff of interest. You know, one of the biggest questions that I get all the time is why? Why did you walk your first Camino? Why did you walk more? And that's what we'll talk about this week. So the biggest question I get, and probably that anyone who's walked a Camino gets, is why? Why did you walk a Camino? Look, I should point out at this point, I am no Camino expert. I've walked 3 Caminos so far. I certainly consider myself a bit of an addict. I love talking about the Camino. I love reading about it and watching people's blogs and videos and things, and I love planning my next one. But you know, one of the common questions that everybody gets is why, and we'll walk for very different reasons. So, as with everything on this channel, I'll just share my perspective, my reasons, and put it out there, and love to hear your feedback on maybe why you walked or why you're thinking of walking. So, why did I? Well, I'm going to make a confession. It was probably in 2013. I was sat in that room with my wife, and I watched a movie. And I'm sure you know the movie I'm talking about, The Way. And it was produced and directed by Emilio Estevez, and his dad played the key role in it. His dad, Martin Sheen, of course. And I watched that movie, and if you haven't watched it, I would say please go and watch it. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I don't know why it wasn't a box office hit. It probably appeals maybe to a smaller audience than generally, but I found it deeply moving, and to cut a long story short, Martin Sheen ends up walking the Camino. I won't give a spoiler alert or anything, and goes through some amazing experiences during the walk, and I just wanted to do it. And I got to the point in my life, I suppose, I was 57 at the time, almost, yeah, I was 57. And I'd kind of been working my butt off since I left school at the age of 15. And it sounds very selfish perhaps, but I felt like my whole life had been for other people. I'd been, you know, working my butt off for family and so on, and trying to build businesses and keep people employed. And I'd spent a long time in the military, you know, where it's all about commitment and service. And I probably just got to the point where I was kind of emotionally drained, and I really wanted to do something just for me. And initially I said to my wife, I really want to go and walk that. And she said, yeah, me too. And so we started planning, and we planned to do that first walk in 2015. And Pat then decided that she didn't want to. She didn't like the idea of walking 800 kilometres. And to be honest, that was a little bit of a relief for me, because I only had me to worry about. And I might talk in a later video about walking on your own versus with other people. And maybe comment down below if you have walked. Have you walked with you know, someone else, or do you like walking on your own? They're different. And so I was left with having to do this on my own. Having to do it sounds like a penance, doesn't it? And so I planned to walk in, when was it? Late April 2015. And so I'm a bit of a bull at a gate at everything, and I started my exercise routine, and I started buying all the equipment. I bought way too much equipment, ended up selling half of it. So take your time. If you haven't done a Camino before, take your time picking the equipment, get the right stuff. And I was out, you know, training and so on. And I was so looking forward to this journey, because I wanted time out. That was one of the key things. I planned to be totally unplugged. I told everybody at work, I run my own business. I gave them 18 months notice. And I said, I'm going to be away for 3 months, and I'm not going to give you my phone number. My assistant had my phone number. That was the only person. And, you know, slowly as the time got closer, they'd say, you're really going to be away 3 months? Yep. You better, you know, sort of pick up the slack because I'm not going to be here. And it was probably 4 or 5 months out, the penny dropped. Rob is actually going. He's going to be away for 3 months. But I have to say the rest of my team at work really stepped up and, looked after things very well while I was away. So I was going through all of this training and, typical hyper, bull at the gate type guy. And what was really interesting was that about 6 weeks out from my departure date, I got this incredible pain in my ankles. And I had this personal trainer coming around once a week to help me. And I'm not a fit guy. I was overweight, a little bit more overweight now, very unfit. And I raced off down to the doctor and she said, you've got Achilles tendonitis. Oh, you're kidding. That's one of the things that people get on the Camino. You're not supposed to get it before you go. And I had just over-exercised. I'd overextended the Achilles tendon. And it was really painful. I couldn't walk. I could hobble with a stick to work, but I couldn't really walk. So I had to get over that. And I said to my doctor, look, why, what can I do? And she said, well, you've got to rest it. You can't walk on it. I said, well, I'm going in 6 weeks. Help me get there. I was so desperate to go. I've been looking forward to this for 18 months. And eventually she said, look, the only thing that I can recommend, and it won't be a permanent fix, is cortisone injections. She said it has to be done under ultrasound so they can see the needle and it goes right into the Achilles tendon. And I persuaded her to let me do both because I didn't want to be lopsided. One was particularly bad, but she agreed that we'd do both. And that helped. That helped quite a bit. It took away some of the pain. And then about, I think it was 2 weeks before departure, I pulled my back bringing the garbage bins in from the street. I have a bit of a disc problem in my back. And I couldn't walk. I was in bed for 5 days. And then eventually with painkillers and a bit of massage, I was up and walking. And of course my doctor and my wife were going, well, you're not going. I said, no, I am. I'm going. It's crazy how this walk just turns you, so passionate about it. It can. And absolutely I was going to go. And so I was very careful. I was going to physio every day and all the rest of it. And I departed on 25th of April 2015. And I arrived in Saint-Jean, I think, on the 29th of April for my first Camino. And that day was the first day that I'd been able to carry my pack in about a month because of back pain and Achilles pain. And so my journey started from there. And it was interesting. Most people get injured walking the Camino. I was injured in 2 different ways before I'd even started. But sorry, look, I've rambled a bit. Why did I walk it? That's just because there's a point to this. I walked it to get space, to maybe find myself, and I'll admit maybe to find some faith. I've never been particularly religious. I think I've always believed in something, but I've never been into formal religion. Formal religious ceremonies and church services and things kind of leave me a bit cold. I kind of don't understand it all and what it's all about, but I'd call myself sort of spiritual. I love going into empty churches and just being at peace in them. I love going into Buddhist temples and any sort of place of religious significance. I just find they've got a fantastic energy in them. And so it was to find space, maybe to find a little bit of faith and just to think about my life. Because as I said, I'd spent decades just on the treadmill of life, and I wondered kind of what it was all about and what was the point of it all, to be honest. And what happened? Well, if you haven't watched the little mini movie, I think we call it, I can't remember what it's even called on this channel, Rob's Journey or something like that, Searching for Santiago, or it's on this channel. It's about 20 minutes. Have a look at that, because that encapsulates it all. And did I find those things? Absolutely. Absolutely did I find them. The journey was sensational. It was more than I could have hoped for. I found me, I found God, I found purpose. It was an amazing journey, and I was hooked. And I suppose if you've never walked a Camino, I just give you that word of warning that it can be addictive. Somebody's written a great book called The Camino is God's Cocaine, and it can be like that. You know, some people will walk it and kind of be unaffected. Oh yeah, it was an interesting hike. I think if you walk it in the right way, it can be an incredibly powerful influence on your life. And maybe in a future video I'll talk about that and some of the things that happened during my journey, which were just amazing and helped me find faith and reinforce faith. I mean, this was just stuff that happened which you couldn't even dream up in a movie. And I'll share some of those maybe in another video. But that's why I walked it. Why did you walk it? Or why are you thinking of walking it? Of course, at this time, amidst the coronavirus, we don't know when we're going to be able to walk again. All I know is that I will be walking again, but it might be some time. Spain has been ravaged. A lot of the albergues are going out of business. I had planned to walk the Via de la Plata, which is a 1,000-kilometre route, in 2022. Who knows? I think we just have to be patient and see what happens. And then, but it's fun to be planning Caminos. If you're not walking one, the next best thing is to be planning one. So anyway, welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. As I mentioned right at the beginning, I really haven't done much on this channel over the last 5 years. It's really just been hosting my little mini movie. But I thought, hey, I'm stuck at home. I love talking about the Camino, love sharing thoughts about the Camino, even though there are loads of blogs and YouTube channels out there. Maybe I can make this one a little bit different. And if nothing else, it means that I can chat Camino. And we might do a weekly video or fortnightly video. We'll see how we go. Talk to you soon.